What is going on, everybody? It is your boy, Kevin Colon, and I'm sure you can tell from the title of this video, I have kind of a different video for you today, a match analysis of a game I had with BeyondToxin in Combat League. If you guys aren't familiar, he is a pro NetherRealm competitor. He has been sponsored, I believe, by Noble Esports before, if I'm not mistaken. You might want to Google check me on that, but I know he's definitely been sponsored by teams before. He's a well-known noob Cybot player in the community, and I was excited to get a chance to play him, and of course, it happened just by getting matched up in Combat League. He doesn't know of me, we're not friends or anything, but I thought it was a cool interaction that I wanted to share with you guys. I also thought it would be a great way to show what I look like when I'm competing with Jacqui in a competitive setting where I'm trying really hard to win against somebody who's not making it so easy, and show you what a set would look like. Now, of course, if you would like to feel what it's like to fight me when I'm really trying, I do stream most weeknights. During the quarantine, I've been streaming at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on Twitch TV. /Kevinmcolon, and that description, as always, will be in the link down below. If you'd like to get some sets in, follow me there, join the Discord, we'll set it up, we'll get some games in. I'm always down to play with people who are interested in playing. I'd like to learn from you as much as I hope to offer some advice that you can learn from me. Now, one small thing I do want to throw in before I go into this whole match analysis, I personally get very curious when I'm following content creators, especially those who are giving advice in fighting games or any game of the sort that they specialize in, how well they perform in the game, what their stats look like. So I wanted to offer that in today's video to offer some transparency between us so we can become closer as friends, like brothers, sisters, if you will. After which I'm going to try to cut straight into the gameplay because that's really what you're here for, I'm assuming, so I'm going to try to make it quick. So for those of you who are curious, this is my current Combat League record here at the bottom. I'm 17-9 as it stands right now. For the most part, I usually try to just get in, get my dailies done, and get out. I sway away from Combat League as much as I can because it can be a toxic environment at times, and sometimes I'm not in the mood to deal with those people. I'm sure you guys have run into the same problem. You know, you have a really close match, and you're like, good games, man, and then they teabag you, and you're like, why did I bother playing ranked? I could have just hit up a couple of friends and practiced with them. I feel the same way sometimes. I've only chosen to deal with it this season because I do want this Baraka skin that you have to get to Demigod for, so I'm grinding my dailies just to get that Baraka skin, and then next season, if I don't like the skins, I won't play. I know we have an Osh-Tech season coming up, and I don't really care for those skins from what I've seen, so I probably won't be playing a lot that season. But of course, attempting to get my dailies done, my actual last and fifth match of the day where I was ready to sign off was the one where I got matched with BeyondToxin. So I'd like to finally stop talking now and get into that match and take a look at it. So let's go ahead and pull it up. So obviously when I got matched up with him, I was a bit nervous. The game actually gave me, if you notice here, an 8% chance of taking this game when we played. So it was quite nerve-wracking for me. I'm familiar with his skill level in the game, but I figured, you know, you got to stay in the mindset. If you go into a set assuming you're going to lose, you most likely will lose. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy, and I didn't want to go in with that attitude, especially knowing how strong Jacqui is. So I figured I'd give it my best shot. Plus, it was my last match of Combat League this day. So I also figured if I lose it, you know, it's not really the worst. My record was fine. I got my matches done for the day. And I could sign off and go make a sandwich, which honestly, in this moment, I think I was more excited about than facing Toxin. I was starving. Now, there's a giant case, of course, that can be made for how strong Jacqui Briggs is in her upgraded variation. I'm definitely going to be making a video on it soon and what I think about everybody wanting to ban her, you know. But for now, I'd like to focus more on the strategies involved in this match because that's really what I thought was interesting within this set. A lot of the success that I had facing him actually came from using her staggers. And I did mention in my upgraded guide that, of course, will be info carded at the top if you'd like to go try to understand some of the strategies that I'm implementing here. Staggering with Jacqui Briggs isn't specifically a first round KO thing, though it's a lot easier to do and it's more efficient in first round KO. Her buttons are so ridiculously good and her frame data is so solid, you can basically poke off of anything and your opponent always has to guess. In that situation, you can see I went for 3-3 to keep him in the corner because, of course, the more you can keep your opponent in the corner in any fighting game will always benefit you, and I had enough damage on him to kind of secure that round and leave him in that bad position. You will see a lot throughout this set us playing a weird form of like full screen neutral. The reason being is that, of course, upgraded Jacqui, I'm sure most of you are familiar, has access to that full screen leap. Now it does after the last nerf that they gave her, which was practically a slap on the wrist as far as I'm concerned. It does give her a problem because it costs defensive meter, which means if you do stop me from using it, you can cut me off and I'm not allowed to break away, which is a factor that I have to take into consideration now. But still, that leap is so strong a lot of times I'll just go for it anyway. But that's why our neutral game is kind of consisting of such a far range. It's a combination of my ability to leap in and his ability to whiff punch me with forward two. Of course, noobs, normals have a lot farther range than Jacqui's does. So we've got to be careful at what range we decide to play this game, because if I attack from too far, I will get cut off, as you see there. It's part of the reason he keeps cutting me off. If I go for forward 1, if I go for forward 3, he can basically use, I'm pretty sure for noob it's forward 2. I don't play noob too much. It'll just cut me off any attempt that I make to advance. And that's really going to be Toxin's goal in here, is to not let me establish the Jacqui pressure game, because if I do manage to close that gap, I will have a lot more of an advantage than him. So you see, nice read on my part, down 2ing the throw, making the read, and staggering here. So staggers, again, are a big part of the success that I had in this set. It seemed like, from what I could read on his behavior, in a lot of situations, he felt safer assuming I was going for the throw, as you see here, than assuming that I was going to go for a combo, which can be risky. It's definitely a tactic that you want to make use of. Neutral ducking is important, because if I do go for a high, I can get punished. If I do go for a throw, I can get punished. But I think one of his problems in this first set was he was doing it so consistently, and I was almost never throwing on Oki the way that he was hoping for, and it cost him a lot of damage in that set. So of course, at this point, I take game 1, I'm feeling myself. And he does what most noob Cybot players will do in this situation. Of course, being a Jacqui main, you get used to kind of the strategic changes people make once they realize they're dealing with an upgraded Jacqui that is formidable, because you do run into opponents online who try to use her and are still figuring it out. But when you run into an upgraded who knows what they're doing, a la me, you know, you do have to change up your strategy. And one of noob Cybot's strongest ones is to go for Seeing Double. In Seeing Double, he gains access to Shadow Clones, which he can use to halt my ability to get in. The most important being that slide that Toxin you see is already making use of, which is going to catch me just not blocking a lot of the time. I have very slow, fat thumbs when it comes to pressing buttons on a controller. And also his ability to shoot an air clone into the sky, which will also cut off my jumping attempts. So it kind of eliminates my ability to leap. So it forces me to change my strategy by just prioritizing, again, staying in on him, but without the immediate access to getting pushed out and just forcing my way back in, which is what a lot of upgradeds try to take advantage of. What Toxin was also doing a great job of throughout this set was using small normals, his down 4, his forward 2, his back 3, I believe. I'm not familiar with all the noobs buttons, but just a lot of pokes to cut off my momentum, not kind of let me get my game going. And one smart read he made here was realizing I did not have enough health to take the chip on that teleport. I should have made the read and understood that in neutral duct. I didn't, and I paid the price for it. As we get into round 2 here, you'll see again that low Shadow Clone is going to be a great part of his neutral game. Ideally, what a lot of noob Cybots do that he actually didn't do throughout this set that surprised me was continuously try to frustrate you with that low Shadow. For one, it's a great move that noob Cybots will use to keep themselves safe, and that's always good. But one of the more important things is that that low Shadow Clone will kind of frustrate a Jacqui player and make you attempt to do the leap, which is usually when they're air clone. When they will air clone is what I'm trying to say. That again will cut off your momentum, and it kind of turns into a zoning match. They do enough damage when you get in to push you back out, and they go right back to the Shadow game. Toxin was kind of implementing a different strategy here, and mostly in using the Shadow Clone just to keep himself safe on approaches and play a better neutral game, because he could throw it out at mid-range and there's not much I can do about it. Of course, I can do Jacqui's Bionic Dash as an answer to it, but there's always the threat that he's going to amplify it. And you see here, the Shadow Clone worked to great effect because it completely cut off my momentum, and he 2-0'd me this game. So now we're 1 apiece, and I really need to pull out the shenanigans in game 3. So I'm going to try to show how I tried to adapt in this last game and what effect it had. So we get into the last match here. And back 2-2 is a starter that I usually tend to go to for Jacqui. It's not the safest, but it's a pretty fast normal. A lot of people will back away from you on the beginning of matches, so I like to use it just to start enforcing pressure. And it does lead into a crushing blow setup if you do like a forward dash and then back forward 2 right after it, which you'd be surprised how often I hit that in Combat League. Again, you see there, throw baiting, specifically in the manner of walking up, because a lot of players, what they will do is they will walk up to try to, you know, make you worry that they're going to press a button and go for a throw. It's usually like a beginner to intermediate tactic to set up throws. I'm just going to walk up and go for my grab. Walking up and going for a button instead, if you have a player who's hesitating, can, in its own sense, act as a 50-50 of its own. And then you see their full screen leap into forward throw, another tactic that I like to take advantage of. But of course, this depends on the player that I'm playing and how often I've done it. It's not really a strategy I went for in this set, so I made the call that he wouldn't expect it. He keeps trying to catch me with random fatal blows, which thankfully I was blocking because the life leader would have gave me was great. And at this point, of course, when you're looking at this amount of health, I'm just looking for a trade, and I believe I find it here off of 4-3. I wanted any poke to take the game and made the call there that in that range at neutral, I could throw 4-3 out. If we were to trade on it, I would take the round, which we did, thankfully. Now, again, you see him implementing the shadow game, and this right now, as far as Toxin is concerned, along with a great anti-air, is exactly where he wants me to be. Right at a range where I can't dictate the range that I want to fight at. I can't step away from his clones, but I also can't necessarily advance because I'm between a wall and Noob Saibot's long-reaching normals, which he's taking advantage of. And you see his ability to use it in this situation to cut off my momentum basically halts me for the whole round. There's really almost nothing I could do in that situation as far as having a normal that would make the same reach and the timing, because I could go for back two, but most of Noob's buttons at this range would beat me out. So I'm looking for an opening there. Thankfully, I called that he wouldn't amplify Shadow Clone that time and did manage to get my counter. We get him in the corner, and now I'm trying to reverse the pressure. Now this ground pound into throw setup is something I usually like to go for, and I like to mix it up by not going for ground pound and just going for an overhead, which you saw work there. And again, the throw staggers, which he kept trying to stop. And at this point, finished the round with forward 3 on Oki, which I thought, that's my little golden bow of respect I like to give people, which kind of was going to be my game anyway if he didn't go for wake up. I had enough of a life lead because I was just going to do a forward 3-1 into grease kick, her down back 4, to attempt to chip him out. So that was my game plan. I think he made the call that if I was going to do that, the best chance he had was to assume that I was going to throw and hope he could counter it because he didn't have the chip to take the grease kick. And he might have gone for delay wake up there. I'm actually not too sure. Let me double check and see if he did go for a delay wake up in this situation. No, that's where the match is over. I need right before here. If he went for delayed wake up, it would be part of the reason that he didn't have access to his wake up options. So we're going to check. Yeah, see, he did, so he had no access to them, and that basically made it my game at that point. Now, one of the reasons that this set was really interesting to me, I like to go over matches like this, especially when I know I'm facing good players. I will be reviewing this a lot myself to try to keep notes of what I did right and what I did wrong. Like, you know, game 2, I lost pretty heavily. I do want to analyze that and figure out what adjustments I can make. I would urge you guys, it's important for you to do the same. Please review your footage. If you run into somebody that gives you a problem, you have it saved in your replays on console. Go to your combat card, check your replays, look at the match again, see what you did wrong, lab those scenarios out in practice mode. It's what it's there for. If you want to get better at the game, assessing those situations and being prepared for them next time will help you a lot. Thankfully, I have a friend who plays Noob Saibot very proficiently, and so I was familiar with the matchup, but had I lost this and not been, I would still be here reviewing the footage, trying to figure out what I did wrong. And there's definitely still aspects of this gameplay where I made a lot of mistakes that I need to go over to work on myself. And I again urge you guys to do the same. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. You know I love talking to you guys, and I want to as much as I can. Check me out on stream. You can ask me questions that I can answer in real time there. Again, links in the description below. Follow me on Twitter and engage with me, guys. I want to be friends with all of you, and I'd like to take as much advantage of having a smaller group as I can, because if I do blow up, which is the hope, you don't do YouTube if you don't want to make it, you know. If I do get to those numbers, I'm going to miss out on opportunities to engage with so many people. So please, if you're interested at all, take the time out, contact me. I'm down for games. I'm down to talk. I'm down to play. I'm down to have conversations. I'm down to learn, and I'm down to become friends with you awesome people on the internet. I will have more guides coming soon. I'm going to be working on a Raiden breakdown next, so stay tuned for that. Outside of that, I will see you guys in the next video. Much love to you all. Talk to you soon. Peace.